ever cram for a test, and then like a week later forget everything.
Right.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, totally.
But it turns out there's
a better way.
Yeah, a better way to learn.
Way better.
It's called the spacing effect.
The spacing effect.
But get this.
Okay.
Scientists are seeing this effect in cells that have nothing to do with the brain.
It's wild, right?
It's like our bodies are learning too.
Yeah, it really challenges like how we think about learning and memory.
Totally.
Like we're so used to thinking about the brain,
Of those neurons.
Yeah, neurons making all those connections. But this research is suggesting that
it's bigger.
Yeah, the spacing effect might be a much more fundamental biological principle. Really is.
So we're diving into a research paper today that shows this spacing effect happening in 2 types of human cells.
Okay.
Neuroblastoma cells, which are cancer cells,
Right.
and HEK293 cells, which are kidney cells.
So no neurons involved.
No neurons.
Which is what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it suggests that maybe, just maybe, this ability to learn from experience isn't just limited to the brain.
Okay, so let's back up for a sec for those who haven't heard of it. What exactly is the spacing effect?
So the spacing effect, also known as distributed practice, is this idea that we learn more effectively when we space out our study sessions over time.
Right.
Instead of cramming all at once.
Yeah, like the opposite of cramming.
Exactly.
Like that whole pulling an all-nighter thing.
Yeah. And remember Hermann Ebbinghaus and his forgetting curve.
Oh, yeah.
Way back in the 1880s. He showed that we forget things so quickly.
We do.
But repeated exposure spaced out over time helps us retain information much better.
That's the key.
That's the key, yeah.
So spacing works, we know that.
Yeah.
But traditionally, we've studied this in the brain.
Right.
What made these researchers decide to look at other cell types?
Well, it's this really intriguing new idea of cellular cognition.
Okay.
Where scientists are starting to explore this idea that all cells, not just neurons, need to respond and adapt to their environment.
They've got to react.
They do.
Right.
And to do that, they might need some kind of basic memory.
So are we saying that cells can actually, remember things?
In a way, yes.
Whoa.
So this research focused on those neuroblastoma cells, which, like you said, have some neuron-like properties.
Right.
And those HEK293 cells, which are totally not neuron-like.
Completely different.
And the fact that they saw the spacing effect in both is mind-blowing.
Yeah, that is wild.
It is.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Okay, good.
But how do you even test that in a lab?
Right.
Like, creating a cellular memory system sounds super complicated.
It's actually really clever.
Okay.
What they did is they genetically engineered these cells to produce an enzyme called luciferase.
Luciferase.
Which makes them glow.
It makes them glow.
It does, yeah.
So like little glowing cells.
Yeah, and this glow was linked to a protein called CREB. CREB.
Wait, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
That's involved in brain memory, right?
You got it. So think of it as like a molecular switch.
Okay.
That helps neurons form memories.
Gotcha.
And now it's playing a key role in our cellular memory system.
Oh, wow.
So they use chemicals to trigger the same pathways that are activated during memory formation in the brain.
Okay.
And the brighter the cells glowed, the stronger their memory.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So they built a mini learning lab.
They did.
Inside these
cells, yeah.
And what they found will blow your mind.
It's really cool.
But before we get to that, how did they make sure they were measuring new memories and not just like the old ones hanging around?
That's a great question, and they thought of that.
Okay, good.
They used a special trick to make the luciferase break down quickly.
Okay.
Like a disappearing message.
Gotcha.
So they could see if the cells were truly forming new memories each time.
That's brilliant.
It is.
All right, so spill the beans.
Okay.
Did the space training actually work better in these cells?
All right, drum roll, please. It worked.
Whoa, really?
They tried all these different training methods, like a single burst of chemicals.
Okay.
4 bursts spaced out. Or 1 long continuous burst, like just blasting them.
Gotcha.
And in both cell types, the neuroblastoma and the HEK293, the space training, led to a much stronger and longer-lasting glow.
So it's like they remembered it better.
They remembered the signal better.
That's why.
It's really cool.
So just like when we space out our study sessions, spacing out the signals made these cells remember better.
Yeah, and remember how we talked about the forgetting curve?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the difference between the space training and the crammed training became even more obvious over time.
No way.
Yeah, just like Ebbinghaus predicted all those years ago.
That's real.
Yeah, those cells that got the space training held onto that memory much longer.
That's crazy.
It is.
Okay, so we've seen that space training actually changes how cells respond, but HLW.
Right.
What's going on at the molecular level to make this happen?
All right, so now we're getting to the really exciting part.
Okay.
They didn't just observe the effect. They dug deeper to try and understand the mechanism.
Right.
So they looked at these two key proteins.
Okay.
EREC.
And CREB.
Remember CREB is that molecular switch we talked about? That's essential for forming memories. Well, EREC helps flip that switch.
So they're like a little team.
They are, yeah.
Working together.
So are you saying that these molecules were behaving differently in the cells that got the space training?
That's what I'm thinking.
You got it.
Wow.
Space training led to higher and more sustained activity of both ERK and CREB.
So they were like more active.
Much more active, yeah, compared to that mass training.
Okay.
It's like the space signals were making the whole signaling pathway more efficient.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's not just about the amount of signal.
Right.
It's about the timing of the signal.
The timing, that's crazy.
It's really cool, right?
That is really interesting. So how did they know for sure that ERK and CREB were the key players here?
Well, they did something really clever.
Okay.
They used inhibitors.
Inhibitors?
Yeah, basically tiny blockers to stop either ERK or CREB from doing their job.
Oh, wow.
And guess what?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay, so without ERK or CREB, that space training no longer produced a stronger memory than the crammed training.
Oh.
So that's a pretty solid confirmation that these molecules are absolutely essential for the cellular spacing effect.
Wow, it's like they're the key.
They are.
So it's official. The spacing effect isn't just some weird quirk of our brains.
Nope.
It's happening at the fundamental level of how cells respond to signals.
Exactly.
That's huge.
It really is.
What are the implications of all this?
Well, think about it.
Sure.
If this is happening in cancer cells and kidney cells, could it be even more widespread?
Oh, wow.
Could the spacing effect be a fundamental principle of biology affecting all sorts of processes?
Affecting everything. Whoa, are you suggesting that it could affect things like our immune system?
It's possible.
Or like how we heal?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility worth exploring.
Okay.
Like, imagine if we could harness this spacing effect to, like, boost our immune responses, make vaccines more effective, or even speed up wound healing.
It's like a superpower.
It's like we've stumbled upon a whole new operating system for cells.
That's mind-blowing.
It is.
But they only tested these cells with chemical signals, right?
Right.
What about all the other kinds of signals that cells encounter in the real world?
Yeah.
Things like physical pressure, temperature changes, even light.
You're hitting on something really important.
Okay.
Cells are constantly bombarded with all kinds of information.
All the time.
Yeah. So the next big question is, could cells show this spacing effect with other types of stimulation too?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But I have a feeling that's a story for another time.
Maybe.
So what else do we need to uncover to really understand the cellular spacing effect?
Well, this research opens up a whole universe of new questions.
I bet.
So we'll dive into those and explore some pretty mind-bending implications in the final part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. Welcome back. We've been on this incredible journey uncovering the secrets of cellular memory.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea that cells throughout our bodies might be like learning all the time.
It really changes how we think about biology, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we've been talking about cells learning and having these memories.
Right.
But those are words that we usually reserve for brains and conscious thought.
Right. Like, what does it really mean for a single cell to remember?
That's the million-dollar question.
It feels like we're bumping up against the edge of how we define intelligence and memory.
You're right. You know, when we think about human memory, we think about, like, remembering facts and events, emotion stories.
Right.
But at its most basic level, memory is simply the ability of a system.
Any system.
Yeah, to retain information.
Okay.
And use it to change how it behaves.
So, like, different levels of memory complexity. Our brains are telling elaborate stories.
Yeah.
But maybe cells are just writing really short ones.
I like that analogy.
They're like Hemingway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The facts. Yeah. And even without a brain, you know, or conscious awareness, cells clearly have some form of memory.
Yeah, they do.
They store information in their signaling pathways, in their genes, even in their physical shape.
It's like a hidden language.
It is.
A kind of cellular wisdom passed down through generations of cells.
I like that.
And maybe the spacing effect is one of the ways they build that wisdom.
Now you're getting it.
I think I am.
Which brings up this really intriguing philosophical question.
Okay, hit me.
If single cells can learn, does that change how we think about intelligence itself?
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is.
Are you saying that intelligence might not require a brain after all?
It definitely challenges the traditional view.
It does.
It forces us to consider that intelligence might be more distributed, showing up in different ways throughout the natural world.
That's pretty wild.
Maybe it's not just about brains,
Right.
but about how systems, whether they're made of neurons or molecules, interact and adapt over time.
So instead of a single intelligence center, it's more like intelligence emerges from lots of smaller, simpler parts working together.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
And the more we study cells, the more amazing and complex they seem.
Yeah, they really do.
It really blurs the lines between what we consider living and non-living, conscious and unconscious.
Whoa, hold on. My brain needs to catch up.
Take your time.
Are you suggesting there's a kind of continuum of intelligence
Maybe
from the simplest cell all the way up to our human brains?
it's a fascinating possibility to consider, isn't it?
That is really fascinating.
Like this research opens up a whole new way of thinking about life itself.
It does, it really does. Okay, I'm officially mind blown.
That's good.
Where do we go from here?
Right.
Like, how do we even begin to explore these massive implications?
Well, it starts with curiosity.
Always does.
You know, we need to be open to new ideas and question our old assumptions about what it means to be intelligent, to learn to remember.
Yeah.
Like what other hidden forms of intelligence might be out there in the world.
Right, like it's a whole new world.
It is.
You're giving us a mission
I am.
to go out and look for learning everywhere.
Yes.
In all kinds of unexpected places.
Exactly. Who knows what incredible discoveries are waiting to be made if we just learn to ask the right questions.
Yeah, that's so true.
You know, the future biology and maybe even our understanding of consciousness is wide open.
That is an amazing thought. This deep dive has been an incredible journey.
Yeah.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface of something truly profound.
We have.
Thanks for guiding us through this amazing world of cellular memory.
It's been my pleasure.
Until next time, keep those questions coming and never stop exploring with wonder.